This is Max Sterling. Welcome to LarpGasm.
So, I found out recently that one of my LARPs allows you to have like hand crossbows. It's something that I think always existed, but like people just didn't acknowledge. So now that I found out I can use these cheesy ass things basically as an in-game thing, I found one of these on sale, super cheap at a store that was going out of business. I think I paid like $2 for it. It's a perfect size. Obviously, it doesn't match my all black color scheme, so this thing's gonna be getting painted, but it's a Nerf gun here. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up, and then I'll be doing some work on it, and I may show you, what I do along the way, and I'll show you the finished product. But basically, I'm just painting this thing black for the most part. I think that's all I'm gonna need to do. Now, there's a lot of ways to prep this stuff. I just use rubbing alcohol to make sure I get all the grease off. You could probably do a lot of different ways. A lot of people sand, a lot of people do other stuff, but for me, I found that just rubbing alcohol seems to work okay. So I'm just going to put some alcohol in there and rub this all down, because this doesn't need anything done to it before it's painted. And then once I get this debadged, I'll rub this down too before applying the black primer that I'm going to use. Alright, so we got this one debadged, and I unscrewed it because I'm going to need to take it apart because I want to paint the trigger, and it's just going to be too hard with it in there. So I went ahead and dismantled it. So this is what the inside of one of these looks like. So when you pull yours apart and pieces go flying everywhere, you can use this as a reference, as will I. These ones are unique because they actually rely on the string. As far as this gun, the trigger assembly actually doesn't easily come out of here. It's pressed plastic, so unless you want to get into some serious disassembly, you're just going to have to paint around this. So unfortunately, that's what I'm stuck with. When I pulled that one apart, it's brand new, but it was already broken on the inside, so I'm going to have to glue that back together, which is no problem. So now I'm off to paint. First step, after you clean it off, or sand it, or rough it up, or whatever you do to prep it, the next step is going to be primer. You're going to want to lay down a primer. It doesn't have to be black because you're going to paint over it. I use black because that way, if the paint would rub off, or if there's parts I just want to leave black, I can just leave it there. It's primed. So there's the parts painted black, and you can see that they're already looking much better. Now that all these little dots and sort of diamond pattern are showing through a little bit more, those may end up getting painted. I'll probably come through and at least touch on them with highlights. But you can see, just painting it black, 100% better. I really wish Nerf would just make these things this way instead of in their crazy colors, but it is what it is. As far as painting, I mean, don't worry if you're not Banksy. In time you will get better with using spray paint and primer. Take some practice. You think it'd be pretty simple, but it's not really that simple. You got to have the right distance, the right stroke. You're going to want to do it in sunlight so it dries fast. The humidity's got to be good. There's a lot of factors that are sort of out of your control, so you might have to pick specific days to do this. But the more you practice, the better you'll get at doing it. And this is what the finished project ended up looking like. So I went ahead and I just used silver to hit some of the highlights. I did a sort of wood grain texture on parts of it, and then kept black for the remainder. But yeah, basically that's all there is to it. Some of the parts I left out. The stuff just was totally not necessary to have in the weapon. And then now it just pulls back and locks, and overall I think it looks real good. I'm going to use it as just a sidearm for maybe one or more of the LARPs that I go to. And it's just going to be nice to have a little crossbow to basically blast people with whenever I feel like it. So if you can get your hands on one of these, super easy to do. Just get some paint, paint it up, take it from that pink and purple thing to a sort of rhinestoned out little hand bow. And of course, As always, adventure on. Oh! Next level.